All right, we are live. It is Wednesday. It's 4:30. It means it's office hours here on our academy. Hey Andrew, how are things?
Oh, and not too bad. Not only is it those things, it's like 110 degrees outside. So thankfully we're inside.
It's 90 degrees, sir.
It feels a little hotter than that. It's a little humid.
Yeah, we're not in Phoenix. We're in Chicago still. So
Exactly. Well, as Mike would probably tell you if he's joining us today, it's a dry heat, so it's no problem for it to be that hot.
I agree.
So
I agree.
doing well though. Doing well.
Sounds good. Likewise. I even had I forgot what I have fresh coffee. Don't remember what exactly the number it is, but in my age, who is counting? So
I think that's the most important bit of updates that we had so far.
yeah,
Got to have the coffee.
gotta have the coffee. All right. So what's up in our little industry?
Well, as always, a few things I came across over the last couple of days. If you don't mind sharing my screen.
In general, I do not.
All
So
right.
here we are.
Perfect. First thing, we don't know what's in this yet. At least I haven't seen the patch notes updated yet for what's new in Intune. But the July release of Intune is now being rolled out in the APAC region, so we should be seeing that in the rest of the world over the next couple of days as well. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that, and I'm almost certain that we'll be updating folks next week on what was actually in those patch notes. So keep.
Yeah, I've been refreshing that web page, the what's new in Intune page, hoping they will post something, but nope.
Oh, well, we'll have to keep refreshing.
Yep.
Also on the topic of updates, I came across this tweet from Sam mentioning that the Graph PowerShell module has been updated to 229.1, which is all well and good. But I did want to point this out because we've talked about this quite a bit over the last year and a half or so. But Sam is somebody I follow and trust his judgment on these things. No known significant issues since a couple of releases back, which is huge. We had a short stretch there as we were migrating over to this version of the PowerShell module. So I'm happy to see, at least over these last several releases, we've gotten a little bit more stability, which is very important, obviously. There are so many modules and scripts and tasks and everything that we do that rely on that particular module. That it's just something that has to maintain stability for us to be able to do our jobs effectively. So very happy to see that, and I will be updating my modules this evening. That's for sure. Also came across this post from Uger, who seems to be putting out a new tool or solution once a week now at this point. But thought this was pretty cool, an Intune monitoring dashboard that uses Azure workbooks. So he released this with a few tabs that are populated right out of the gate, but I know that said here in the post that he's working on more. It's pretty straightforward to get this set up. Basically, browse over to IntuneMonitoring.com, and there's a little video and a couple of blurbs of text, depending on how you like to read through things, on how to get this set up. And when he says it takes about 60 seconds, I would say that was pretty accurate in my experience. Actually went ahead and got this workbook configured in my tenant yesterday. And you can see here, we've got a nice overview of how many devices I have enrolled in my tenant, how many are actually active, company-owned versus personal devices, compliance status, some nice stuff there. And then as we go across, we have some device activities. We have a compliance page. And then we have these other tabs here that Uber's working on filling in right now. Over time, I expect these to be populated based on his post here. So really cool to see another community dashboard around monitoring in Intune and seeing what's actually going on with our devices in our tenant. And on that topic, we also had an update to his IntuneRBAC tool. Basically, so this is a tool that you can run to report on who has access to specific permissions. Some of those permissions are fairly broad, where you could do you can do some not so great things with some of those permissions if you're not careful. And so, of course, in a lot of cases, we want to follow that principle of least privilege for security. And Ugr's tool here will help identify where you may have some more broad permissions than you really need. So some of the updates that he added in this version of this tool actually shows you a risk score based on the permissions for the roles that you have out there in your organization in Intune. So would recommend checking this out as well. And then last but not least, came across this post from Joe Lovelace on finding group policy settings by category. Absolutely recommend if you are even starting down your journey into implementing Intune into a hybrid environment, recommend going through this post because that's exactly what Joe kind of talks through here, and has put out a script to help identify specific GPOs that you have in your Active Directory forest or forests in Joe's case, to help identify and figure out, do I really need these policies before I move them over to Intune? Something that not only Johan and I have talked at length about in our training, in office hours and things like that, but that's a common thing that you're going to hear from anybody that's worked through this process or is working through this process, is evaluate your group policies. Really ask yourself, does the organization still need them today? Some of those questions are going to be a lot easier to answer, but you're going to have others where you may be blocking something that it made sense to do that 10 years ago, but maybe it doesn't anymore. So this is another tool in our toolbox for us to help report on those things, review them with our teams, and identify whether or not they actually need to move to Intune, because the old mantra, garbage in, garbage out, we don't want that. We want to review these things before we move to Intune. So thank you, Joe, for putting this together. Nice script, provides a nice report here where you can actually identify these things on a little bit better basis, I think. So that was what I had for this week. Community's busy as always, Johan.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Let's see. I did have one thing that made me super excited. I can find my screen in this little mix here. Looks like my screen. All right.
I agree.
That one, and that was not Andrew's screen. That was Andrew himself. I was planning on muting that screen. Here we go. Sorry about that, sir. Too many buttons. But our friend Connected Cache was announced general available today.
Awesome.
So very excited. I appreciate that he did that for us here on office hours, of course, in a timely fashion. But so I saw that, and then I immediately, all right, what do I need to do to upgrade? So I went into the Azure portal where I had my my connected cache servers. So they did remove the preview also from the portal itself. You'll see that in a minute when I log in. It says here in still on the short name here, but when you actually click it now, you can see that the preview is gone. So here I have my 2 nodes. They are still running the old build. Haven't upgraded yet. I tried, but failed miserably. But it says that the current preview cache nodes will cease to function on September 14 this year. So make sure that you upgrade those before then. But what you have to do is actually install a new package. They changed to have the script available into an APAC package that you have to download. And let's see if there is a link to it here. There is not. If I go to one of the nodes, in the deployment tab, there we find a link to that package. I cannot show it right now because it will also show all the various secret keys at the same time to my cache node, and I don't want them on YouTube. But they are available there. And then when you run that script, you install that APEX package, and then you push the location to that APEX package, and that will take you to that folder. And this is where you will see, let's see what the script was named. This one here, which is the installation script, which I tried to run on this system. It didn't go fantastically well. It didn't like my very much existing Ubuntu distro. It didn't like that mine was called Ubuntu default, and they expected Ubuntu-2404. So the script returned with a 0, which is usually happiness. But if you scroll up the different logs, well, it was not entirely happy. So I had to also install Hyper-V. That was a new change in this release, but I will get it going, and I will blog about it, and we can talk about the setup next week when I figured out how it's done.
Sounds great. I noticed in the release notes too that it said the cache nodes can support Intune and Teams content via HTTPS.
Yes, that is a fantastic news, because Teams can be that content can be pretty large, those updates. So yeah, let's see if I can find that little snippet. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, very nice. Always excited to see more content being able to be cached, right?
Oh yeah, we like caching. I've been spending the last couple of weeks doing some testing for a company that involved pretty much all of my Hyper-V hosts at home. I have a couple of hundred VMs running now. So even the demo machine I'm using here, it's starting to get just a little bit tired from all the VMs running on top of it. Almost using up all the half a terabyte of memory on it. But if I hadn't had cache service available, I can tell you the internet link would have been screaming at me at this point. So very happy for the connected cache. All right. Now, we also have some community news, and I actually got from from Mr. Roberto, our marketing director here on Formurolus, who is the company behind the Academy and the deployment artist and deployment research and a few others. I got a little video clip that I just uploaded. So I figure we could see if beautiful. First time trying that one, by the way. I just got it earlier today. But that means it's a community update. We talked about it a couple of times, but we do have a couple of events coming up on our community. So on the Academy site, if you scoot over to the community section here, we have a mini course tomorrow. It is tomorrow. Yes, it is tomorrow. Yep. Time flies. See if I can find that one. Yes, that's our Graph mini course. Andrew and I will be spending an hour and a half diving into so much graph you can basically cram into a 90-minute session. That'll be fun. We have a session on Friday to celebrate a very special day. You happen to know what day that is, Andrew?
Oh, to celebrate all of these sysadmins around the world and all the hard work all of you do. SysAdmin
Yes.
Day.
Exactly. So that's what we'll be spending our Friday morning with. That's also available here on the community. And then I'm not sure. Yeah, it is published. We just got this one confirmed, but there is a very new version of PSADT being released. The candidate was out a couple of weeks back, but we are joined by Mr. Dan Cunningham, legend in the PSADT community and one of the original founders and developers of the product. But we were spending some time on that in August. So it's a busy summer, indeed. And all our mini courses, they are priced just right. They are okay, I think.
Perfect.
Yes. So that was what I had on the community side. Did I forget anything?
I don't think so. I hope not. No, I don't think so.
All right, it'll probably come to mind like halfway in through the session otherwise. But
Yeah.
More importantly, do we have any questions?
Of course. Happy to say that we do. And a couple of hellos and happy Wednesdays in here. So back at you, everybody. Thank you for that. Good to see you. So a couple of things here. Matthew, unfortunately, had a lot of stress this week when the CISO had them block port 80. Just got all the certs set up and working today. Client push is working now, and Software Center installs software, and looks like OS upgrades are now working. So Matthew's been joining us the last several weeks working through ConfigMgr installation configuration. So the only issue is the application install steps and task sequences are not working. I'm thinking I might need to just delete the app install step and re-add it. What are your thoughts?
Not because of a change to PKI. I've never seen the need of re-adding those steps back into the sequence. That doesn't make any sense. As far as blocking port 80 goes, I would not recommend that. I mean, PKI and all of that is fine, but actually blocking the port 80, I wonder if that can cause some interesting effects on a config manager environment. Even a PKI one that is using 443 mainly. I'm doing some pretty sure there are a few redirects kicking in still. I will.
I would expect so. I mean, 80 is still on the list of ports that are required for management point communication, for DP communication, client to DP, client to MP.
Yeah, I cannot say I have ever stumbled across a customer that blocked port 80, even but going to full PKI or config manager. I mean, port 80 is used for so much other stuff also. If anyone out there happened to have done that exercise and been successful with it, please let us know. But I would recommend keep having it and then maybe start monitoring it and see what traffic that does come in on it. If it is legit traffic, that goes to config manager, then I'd suggest keeping it.
All right. Aaron has a question here over on YouTube. For building thick images of Windows 11 24H2, is there a workaround for the SysPrep issue in ConfigMgr capture? MDT has been failing and would avoid troubleshooting in an unsupported use case if I can.
Yeah, I did see that question coming in the forum, and I actually started earlier today looking into that a little bit more. Let me bring up. Where did the window go? There. Let me bring up a build and capture sequence. This is, by the way, deploy R. I was playing around with that earlier. I got access to a preview that I'm testing out. Very excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. Side story. Here. Yeah, that was updated to July version of 24H2, and yeah, here is the build a capture sequence in config manager, and this particular step here, even though it calls another component in the background, and I can show you that this one here, that's actually what's being called. That component is running SysPrep, and that is what's breaking it, because it runs as system. So I was playing around with just having a scheduled task running at that step or triggered by that step that would run it in a different account. Next step would be to try to run a regular run command line SysPrep with a specific admin account, like you can do for any type of either run PowerShell script like this one is, or a regular run command line action like this one. To be tested. I haven't gone through that full exercise just yet, but if this works, I will update the blog post with that information. But right now, if you absolutely must have something that is well tested and functioning, sure enough, you can spin up an MDT light touch deployment share, run through it, and you get an image. Even though not supported for Windows 11, it still works. But if supported is your sort of mantra, your ground, where you want to be, you need to figure this one out. Because I've been reaching out to the team 5-6 times this year asking for an official workaround, official update, but so far, nada.
It's too bad.
Yes.
All right.
So maybe that.
Thank you, sir. Clive's got a question for us over on Twitter. Have about 15,000 stale devices in Azure and about 3,500 stale devices in Intune. What is the best way to clean up this unholy mess? I think I can take that one.
Sure. Shall I share your screen?
Yes, that would be great. And where I would start is with one of the many Swedish gentlemen that are in our community here, Mr. T-Bone. No need to reinvent the wheel on this, but you can find other solutions out there. But I think he's done a great write-up on how you can do that in both Intune and Entra ID. So long story short, on the Intune side of things, it's built in. Device cleanup rules. Go ahead and set that we want to delete those devices based on a last check-in date of between 30 days and 270 days. That's generally the recommendation there. On the Entra side of things, though, similar to Active Directory, if you've had to do cleanup of Active Directory devices in the past, there is nothing built in, but we can key off of specific values, similar to a last login timestamp or last activity, just like we can in Intune, just like we can in Active Directory. So what we can do then is essentially go through, and after a device has not checked in or hasn't had any activity for a certain amount of days, we can disable the device and then delete it. So he also has a solution and a blog post that you can run through and schedule this using Azure Automation. Super easy to configure. Definitely test. You're doing something potentially, I guess it is absolutely destructive because you are deleting things, but the script, again, will do a disable, and then a little bit later, based on your configuration, we'll do a delete of those Entra devices. So I'm going to drop this in our links for this evening. This is a fantastic write-up, kind of one of the go-tos that I've had for this question recently. In addition to that, Microsoft does also have some official documentation around how to manage those sealed devices in Entra ID. Again, on Intune, I would just configure your device cleanup rules and be done with it on that side. But there's a little bit more to consider on the Entra ID side of things. So again, PowerShell. And then making sure that you actually have BitLocker keys backed up and that sort of thing. So there are some recommendations in Microsoft's official doc here. So those are the two blog posts and documentation that I would check out.
Awesome. It's pretty cool because Mr. T-Bone, his first name is Thorbjörn, so he's practically Thor. So that's how I see it.
That is awesome. That is such a cool name.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love Johan, but is it?
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's like top 10, but it's still like a common name for Björn. So
that's a very love that. That's great. Very Nordic name.
Oh yeah, goes back in the days. All right, sidebar.
Yeah, no, it's a great one. Especially because I just know him as Mr. T-Bone. All right. So, yep, both of those links I'll get posted this evening. So Benny's got a question here. Set up a deferral policy for 24H2 on my machines a while ago. How can I check on a device how many days are left on the defer policy? Excuse me.
Should be in the registry in the policy manager node, but how many days that are left? I mean, it depends on when the update was offered, and that date we typically know. I haven't seen a way to calculate it though, based on information on the device.
No, I can't think of a time that I have come across anything on that either. I know it can get a little bit of a gray area, right? If you're just assigning this policy for the first time, or the device is coming online for the first time. But I've not seen anything that actually calculates it out. A little bit easier to calculate when you have, to your point, Johan, when we know Patch Tuesday happened, and we know that the policy is active and out there.
I mean, based on that, if you want to have like a minimum number of days, that's going to be it.
Yep. All right. I see Matt sneaking in here. Hello, Matt. Good to see you. I see a little bit of a sidebar here from Clive as well, but probably worth mentioning. So it says, I know Johan likes metal because he went to an Iron Maiden show a few years ago and posted on Twitter. How is the world without OZZY? And especially
Man,
just a few weeks after his incredible Black Sabbath's incredible concert. I don't know if you
oh
caught
yeah,
any of that,
yeah.
Johan.
Oh yeah, but I've been watching a couple of videos from it. I was a big fan growing up, and he was a legend.
Yeah.
It'll be sorely missed, and I've seen so many pictures showing up. Basically, he reuniting with other rock stars over the years that has been fallen behind, and they're basically in those pictures having a good time out there. But it is sad that he's gone, and it's amazing that he was able to power through that concert. Amazing concert, and voice still holding up. Amazing.
Yeah. I could not believe that. Voice still holding up amazing. He looked genuinely so happy to be up there and being able to do that, what ended up being his final show. And on top of that, because of that show, I read that he raised $200 million for charity from that show.
Yeah, for Parkinson, right? For his,
Yeah,
I think it was.
which he's been suffering from or was suffering from for 2 decades. It's incredible that he can get up there and do that. So, if you have not seen any of those clips, definitely recommend going and checking them out from that concert. I hope. I haven't seen anything yet, but I hope that they'll release the full concert. Looks like it was recorded in pretty high resolution, so I expect it will be at some point.
Yeah. No, it's very sad that he's gone, but
Yeah,
what a life.
yeah,
What a
absolutely.
legend. Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you pointing that out, Clive. Agreed. So let's see. Sidebar, but worthy sidebar, definitely. I see Mike Terrell's joining us. Little love for Deploy R in here, of course. And Matthew just updating us that his OS upgrade just finished and worked great. Fantastic. Like to see positive movement there. I know you've been working on pretty much all things ConfigMgr recently, so anytime you get success is fantastic. Aaron just had a follow-up from his question around thick images. Tried MDT and unfortunately has been giving errors thus far.
MDT is still fairly solid in terms of building images. They're working well. The biggest challenge is usually the device having internet access during build and capture. Not recommended. Much easier if you don't. But it still works, even though not supported. But that's also an area we can certainly help if you have any more specific questions or errors. I have a couple of guides out there still. See if I can find them while you are still sharing your screen there. But yeah, we can go ahead and share that one. All right, so this one here, even though it's a couple of months old here, this one still will take you through the process if you absolutely must have an image. But again, the biggest thing is it will be much simpler if you're blocking internet access to that VM. And don't build in VMware. You have seen a couple of issues with that recently. Not sure exactly why, but we've seen it. Folks switching to Hyper-V, problems went away. Usually, VMware has been rock solid for reference image builds, but recently we've seen some issues with Windows 11 24 H2 ref image on it. And to block internet access, Hyper-V, stupidly simple, a bit of PowerShell. You just add a one-liner, you specify the VM, you specify the IP address of your closest remote, or sorry, your default gateway, and it will block access to it. So that works.
Easy enough. All right. Matthew's wondering, is it okay to block the out-of-box experience with an unattended answer file? I noticed some deployments are stopping and asking to select network to continue, which I had not seen yet.
Let's see here. Where did you see that question?
Just above Aaron's comment on
Oh,
trying
okay, I see.
MDT.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely okay to have an unattended file not showing the out-of-box experience. That's pretty much what any deployment solution does. The only time you want to see it is when doing autopilot. Then you want the opposite, then you want to show it. But even ConfigMgr, even if you don't specify an unattended file yourself, it actually injects those blocks, that configuration into the unattended file. But it comes down basically to this one here. Let's see what I have. So on the apply OS step, so if I go to a deployment sequence like this one here, you can see I had XML in the name. I just started to add that into the name to know in my demos when I actually do have one action configured for it. But this one here, I have added my own unattended file to the sequence or to the apply OS step or action. And if I open that one, which is this file here, you have these settings configured. Even though these are deprecated, they are actually still active. But even without an unattended file like this, ConfigMgr will inject a couple of these settings on the fly during deployment. So you can actually see that if you add up a command prompt during imaging in the WinP phase, that the unattended file that gets created in the Windows Panther unattended folder gets updated. And then Windows uses that after the reboot. So yes, absolutely. It's okay. You kind of have to if you want to have an automated deployment.
Yeah. Well, and with the just a question I thought of when you are dealing with the select network to continue page, is it another option to just disable wireless during your sequence, like at that point, or do you just prefer to do it through the unattended file like this? Because I think that's typically what's asking that select your network to continue part of the out of box experience, right?
Yeah, I did remember seeing. Wonder what that one was.
In the past, I've always dealt with it with an unattended file as well, and so that's pretty much just been part of my sequences for years. I just didn't know if that was another option or not.
Let's see.
Not to put you in the hot seat.
I am pretty sure that one takes care of the wireless page also.
I think that's. I agree. I think that's correct. So we'll just say stick with this option.
Yeah, and it's funny because, as I mentioned, they are deprecated, these settings, but they are still very much in use.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff. And Matthew said thank you for that info.
There is a hide wireless setup value. I wonder if that one is still. Yeah, I found it. Try to get the link over, not entirely successful.
There you go.
Yeah, so if the skip one doesn't do it, try this one. But I have not had a need to do it because there are basically it's also relying on Windows capability to figure out if it is connected to internet.
Okay.
And we typically do. I mean, it is doable to do OSD over Wi-Fi, but for my own part, in 11 out of 10 cases, it's a wired box. I rarely do much Wi-Fi deployment. It's a little bit too hardware dependent. But it's getting better. Vendors are increasingly adding in better support for Wi-Fi in BIOS, and that simplifies deployment.
That's good because I remember reaching out to you before you and I knew each other this well, maybe back in like 2017 or 2018, asking about that. Mostly for you to back me up on what I was telling leadership at the time, but I think your response was not as positive as the one that you have in 2025. So happy to see improvements.
Now hardware is become better and better. So I mean, the Wi-Fi landscape is different now. If you go to a customer, you can bet that well over half of their devices are on Wi-Fi networks.
Yeah.
So
easily. Awesome.
So, anyhow, maybe try this one if the other one doesn't do it.
Great stuff. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let me bring up here.
Sure.
So these are all the ones that are for out-of-box experience. So that even though they don't mention the skip one, it's still there, still works. So anywho, now back to you.
Sabrina is asking us over on YouTube. We've packaged 400 applications in Intune. What's the best way to start moving 5,000 devices over? Any tips on handing full app control over to Intune would be appreciated.
So if the intention is to stay co-managed, one of the beautiful things about that particular workload is that you can still have both. So once you verify that the Intune applications work, when you deploy a new device for them, for example, or bring up a new device, either of the platform is not going to reinstall it because they're still going to leverage their detection methods. So if you have an app model app in ConfigMgr, it's not going to be offered or installed on the device if it thinks that it's already there, depending on the detection method. And Intune works the same way. It's also going to check, all right, is this app there? If it is, based on the detection method, it's not going to install it. So basically, after those applications have been vetted and tested from Intune, you can basically start to disable those deployments in ConfigMgr. And eventually down the road, if you're not planning on using that for applications anymore, you can start to clean them out. If you're thinking about doing a cut, that is a little bit different. Because once you remove the ConfigMgr agent, then you have, of course, Intune only available. But I would recommend, if you have the chance, to stay commanded for a bit at least until you have verified everything, and then remove it. I hope that answered the question.
I do too, because well said. I +1 to what you just said. Absolutely. It is one of my favorite things, being able to push out applications from both systems, have them show up in the company portal in one place, so you get your users used to the company portal. All good stuff.
Yep.
All right. I see Mike's in here. Back to comment around MDT and thick images. Have people building 23H2 images for classrooms with MDT right now. Yep.
Yep, still works, even though not supported. So, yeah.
Yep. And then Matt's got a question. I have an issue with... sorry, I thought I missed something else. Matt's question, I have an issue with 24H2 update. Did the troubleshooting Rudy mentioned in his blog and the Patch My PC blog. And the command he stated was to unenroll the device and then re-enroll it. It gives me an error even when I have full permission on Graph.
I don't
Any
know what
ideas?
that command is, but I remember there were some Graph permissions that changed just recently. Jürgen had a tweet about it. See if I can find that one here. Some of the scripts that have been working previously you may have to use additional permissions depending on what you're doing.
Let's see, is that one in there? So I think I found...
It's not July 31 yet, but that will be active, yeah.
Yeah. I think I found the blog post that Matt's referring to, but I don't know if it doesn't look like any of those endpoints. Nevertheless, this is important to know.
Do you have the screen up?
I do.
All right. Let me get that one up and get rid of that one.
So basically, if we go down to the fixing the issue, it's in the, not one of the Intune endpoints, but one of the updates endpoints. So it has you deleting the device from Windows Update for Business deployment service and then re-enrolling it. I can't say that I've ever hit that endpoint, actually. I don't know if you've worked with it at all, Johan.
Let's see, bring up that post. I can see it a little bit clearer.
Okay. So it looks like basically unenrolling from the deployment service and then re-enrolling it. Specifically the deployment service.
Is that the updatable assets?
Yes.
endpoint.
Mhm.
No, I can't say I've played around with it, but if you run it in Graph, it will tell you what permissions you need. Sorry, if you run it in Graph Explorer, it will tell you what permissions you need to run it.
It's interesting. In this case, the device just got stuck in an enrolling state.
Yeah, I don't think I have any examples on that one.
No, but I also don't recall this blog post, so I'm happy to be seeing it. This is from back in. Oh, it says it was posted in January, but updated in June, just a month ago. So
All
I
right,
was going
so
to say this is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I logged in as a global admin
Mm-hmm.
in Graph Explorer, and I ran just the read query.
Mm-hmm.
And that one showed me straight out of the bat that even as a global admin, I did not have enough permissions.
If you actually consent to them, does it change that at all to that permission right there?
Let me take a screenshot of this one first. Yes, it does.
All right.
So my bet is this. That's what I would guess. That you need those permissions for that particular endpoint.
Yep. And it's interesting. I just had one of my colleagues mentioned to me earlier today or yesterday, they've been noticing that more and more global admin does not necessarily mean global admin, where some of these permissions are you have to grant consent like you did here, or in the case of purview, some of the security features, you actually have to add additional permissions beyond that. So interesting.
Yeah, but Matt, try this one and see if granting those permissions to your account. Don't select on behalf of the entire organization. Just click accept. Don't select that checkbox. But yeah, all right.
So I was just checking to see too if they were. Could just be that they needed to be application permissions in this case.
The meaning in app registration is being used.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Um, Sabrina's asking, is the free training introduction on MS Graph tomorrow? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. If you can't make it, we'll make the recording available. But of course, live is always nice. You can ask questions, and it's a good way to spend a Thursday morning. Help for those on Microsoft.Graph.
think that's a pretty fun thing to do on a Thursday morning.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions coming in?
I did see Matt followed up and said, I have the permissions that Explorer's asking, but still have an error. I think we'd probably have to dive into that a little bit more. But I mean, as soon as you consented, Johan, it powered through for you.
Yeah, it did. But I just tried to read the information. I didn't try to actually unenroll the device.
True.
I mean, I can give it a go and see what happens. But I don't know which device that is on the top of my head. I have to look that up first so I don't break anything that I want to keep.
Right. And Sahid's got an issue, joined macOS 2 domain and am unable to log in. Unfortunately, I don't want to speak for you, Johan, but I will. When it comes to macOS, that is not generally our domain of expertise. We can use them. Can do a couple of things with them, right? But unfortunately, Sahid, deep troubleshooting on some of those issues, not so much.
But I would recommend head over to our community.
Yes.
Post a question there and ping Mr. Dean LRP. He's one of our macOS instructors on the Academy. He knows macOS well and management of it. I do not. I'm good at other things. It's just maybe one day I cave in and buy myself one, but I haven't gone through that just yet. My wife has one, but she doesn't allow me to manage it through Intune. So there we are.
Yep. And I've done a few things. I got one last year for that explicit purpose. So I've done a few things like deployed some applications, policies, things like that. But when it comes down to any deep troubleshooting, I have not gotten that far. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I've reached out to Dean myself, and he's super helpful. He knows his stuff.
Oh, yeah, he does. All right. Any other questions?
I am not seeing any. It doesn't look like we missed any. At least not that's showing up in our chat here.
No, I see a couple of thank yous, but hey, we are pretty much up on time here. Time froze on my screen because I enabled Zoom it, and it freezes the clock unless you do the live one. But hey, it's 5:30. We are at the end. Everyone, thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for your many good questions and comments, and we hope to see you again next Wednesday and tomorrow and Friday.
You got it.
Good luck. Yeah.
Thanks, Johan. Thanks, everybody.